Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the It's Needed podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement and the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I'm joined today by the light-skinned wonder himself, Mr. Oh No, it's the Popo.
I should have Billy do that for me, and then I should normally go in with like, yeah, what's going on, Ryan? How you doing? That'd be sweet, man. But what's shaking, brother?
I know I'm chilling, man. We also got Billy here today too as well. Billy about to throw the computer and all the equipment down and just break it all this morning.
I know the world has been having one of those days, but today it's magnified. It's just magnified.
Yeah, Billy is on new beer, new Billy. That's what this episode is.
Billy came in hot this morning. Billy was upset, bro.
He is throwing stuff.
I wasn't throwing stuff, but just the tech stuff today isn't working as we normally have it.
Stimulus checks ain't came in yet. Tech ain't working yet. We all upset.
Hey, before we started recording, Ryan asked Billy, "You get a stimulus check yet?" And Billy went, "No."
Where's my money, man? Where's my money?
Where's my money, man?
You made my job illegal. Give me money.
Where's my money, man? Hey, so you guys need to know this. We love y'all. And
man, tell them again, just in case they hear.
We love y'all, and the reason I tell y'all that is because it has been one of those days. Let me tell you. First and foremost, we were supposed to get on a little earlier. I didn't go to bed till like 2 a.m. this morning actually. So I got up. I called AJ, or actually me and Billy and AJ are going back and forth like what time we're gonna record. So then it started at like 8 o'clock, and then it was like, let's do 11, and then that didn't work. Or no, we were gonna go 10. So and then AJ calls me, and I answer the phone like, "Hello." He was like, "You sleep?"
His Barry White voice on hello.
He was like, "You sleep?" I'm like, "Bro, I'm tired." So then I was like, "No, you know what? We got it. Let's do it." Me, AJ, Billy. So I was like, I'm gonna get up right now. Let's just do it. So then we get here, and then we had some equipment problems today. so
and
Billy
a cable disappeared apparently. So
yeah, so then Billy was on a rampage. It's been a show.
Yeah, and then I thought my Apple computer was getting hacked because right when we're getting ready to start, then I started seeing all this stuff pop up on my computer talking about memory low and stuff like that. So I had to restart that thing. So
speaking of hacking, how did Billy hack into our FaceTime earlier? Like you and I were FaceTiming, and then Billy just came out of nowhere like, "Hey, yo, what's up, y'all?"
Originally, Ryan had put me on there, so then like 10 minutes later said, "Do you want to still join?" I didn't know it did that.
Oh, I didn't know.
Billy is a hacker.
Billy was lurking from the
hacker
sidelines.
Billy.
So, but anyways, guys, like I say all that to tell you guys, we really truly do love you. We don't want to go a week without giving you guys a podcast. There's so many of you guys that hit us up, and I still have to respond to some messages. I've gotten I'll do my encouragement message that I got this week again in a little while. But keep sending those messages. It really does not only encourage me, but it encourages the boys. And so, and man, I must say, I listened to last week's podcast again, and I was crying when I listened to AJ's segment. Yeah, crying when I heard his most embarrassing moment, man. So shout out to you. Thanks for blessing me with that.
I'm transparent, extreme, open book. You ask and you shall receive. So
oh man,
that's definitely my number one. So there ain't many stories that's topping.
We got to get Billy's most embarrassing moment.
I guess I don't know.
He's got to have one.
Like Billy's like, I don't get embarrassed, whatever.
You got to have one. So anyways, guys, it's a pleasure being with you guys this week. I appreciate it. There's a lot that's transpired over the course of a week since we last spoke to you guys. Obviously, new developments with the COVID-19. Seems like there is some light at the end of the tunnel that we've been seeing. I know they've been talking about where some places have been seeing their peaks. California, I think we're supposed to see our peak, I believe, on Wednesday or Thursday is what they were saying we're supposed to peak at.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, and when they say peak, they're talking about the peak in the deaths. But what they have been saying is that the increase of new cases has been slowing down. So that's good. So that's a glimmer of light. So that way we can hopefully get back to, I don't know about you guys. Do you guys think we'll ever get back to living life how we were before COVID-19?
No. Nope, never before. It's always been a pet peeve of mine when people like cough or sneeze in my direction and don't cover their mouth. Yeah. Like always. I got into an argument, story time, all right? I was at the gym, got done working out. I go downstairs. I work out at Lifetime Fitness, right? So they have like all the luxuries and amenities, right, that you can imagine. So I go downstairs. I'm in the steam room, sitting in the steam room. Granted, The steam room is not the cleanest place in the world because there's just constant steam and moisture in this confined space, right? So whatever. So this elderly guy comes in, and I shouldn't even say elderly. I mean, he was probably in his like early 50s, mid 50s, right? So he walks in and he sits directly beside me, which that was like the only spot available, right? Whatever. He went down there for a minute and he looks me dead in the face and goes, didn't cover his mouth. Or I mean, I could like feel the force from his lungs like hitting the side of my face. So I'm mad, right? And I go, hey, you just coughed on me without covering your mouth. Like, can you not do that? And he goes, oh no, I'm not, what do you say? I'm not sick. It's just the eucalyptus they put in here gets to me every now and then. What? And I'm like, no, I don't think you heard me.
What did that got to do with the cost of tea in China?
Like, don't cough on me. So anyway, we actually exchanged some words. And I was just like, hey, look, I ain't playing with you, man. Like, don't cough on me. Like, we're going to have some problems in the steam room. But anyway, that is what I think the outcome of this will be. Like, if someone coughs or sneezes around you after this, like, you going to look at them sideways like, hey, hold up.
My man AJ
run
was
this
like,
fade now.
Like, does eucalyptus have to do with the cost of tea in China?
And he was like, that's the eucalyptus. It really makes me cough. And I'm like, on my face? Like, that's irrelevant. Like, I don't care why you cough. You coughed on me. Like,
bro. And then speaking of eucalyptus, I've gone, like, so I go to the sauna room sometimes as well. And like, you know, this is when I was going to LA Fitness. And I appreciate the guys that were at least courteous and asked you, like, hey, you mind if I spray some of the eucalyptus? But the guys that just come in there and don't ask nobody and just pour it all on the thing, bro. And it's like all of a sudden everybody start coughing.
Your face is burning.
Your face is burning. Feel like you getting a full body exfoliation. I'm like, bro, y'all couldn't ask.
I had one of those too. So I actually get in the most arguments with people at the gym. Like, I don't know if it's like a testosterone thing or what, but like I'll give you another example just because whatever, why not? Got done working out. I go downstairs in the locker room. I use the restroom, so I'm like washing my hands, and I look over, and the guy beside me sticks his whole foot in the sink and starts like washing his foot, and I was like, hey, the shower is around the corner, and he was I think it was like it was a religious thing, like he was washing his feet, which, you know, whatever, but you got to go in the shower. You can't just stick your foot in the sink. And,
he's like, I don't want to use the shower. You use the shower.
So yeah, he got buck with me. He was like, what you gonna do? I'm like, I ain't gonna do nothing. I'm just telling you, like, that's nasty. Like,
oh, bro. Or just, I wonder how, like, you know, when I look at old people, shout out to all the old people, but
shout out to all the old people who walk around, but
yeah, bro. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You walk in the locker room, bro. Not a care in the world, bro. Not a care in the world. They
Not
just
a
walk
care
around.
in the world.
Or then they just like, or they walk by and fart, bro, and it just like, they don't even care, bro. Don't even think twice. Like, they live their best. You know what it reminds me of, bro? So my wife and I, we just started watching sidebar, y'all. Squirrel. My wife and I just started watching Ozark.
Yes.
So
bruh,
it reminds me of the old man that just be walking out to the lake butt naked.
Yeah. Like, if you don't put that afro away, don't nobody will see it.
I wish I was at a point in life where I had no cares like that.
Bro, yes, bro. Just zero ass, bro.
The moment I hit 60, it's a wrap.
Hey,
all rules are gone. Like,
naked 90% of the time.
Y'all just gotta deal with it.
Bro, like no care, bro. They just walk around, bro. Oh man. So what's up with you, Billy?
Well, I just want to know what kind of bougie day spas you guys are working at, where you're worrying about eucalyptus and steam rooms.
I mean, it costs to look this good, Billy. I mean,
I got to get that eucalyptus money.
You got to get that stash that AJ has, bro.
I was about to say, maybe if you had eucalyptus, your beard would connect to the middle. I don't know, Billy.
Oh man. So it looks like, if you look at the three of us right now, it looks like if you look at our facial hair, it looks like the stages. So I ain't got none. AJ has a mustache, and then Billy has, I don't know what that is. We call him Billy's face, but
I don't know what it is either.
No shave quarantine.
No shave quarantine. It's my quarantine beard or mustache. I'm growing it out until COVID is done. So.
But shout out to you guys. I don't know. Did you do the officer? We actually are still working on the new officer down, a memorial that we're going to do. And so, like I said, that's going to be a lot longer than what it's currently at right now, just because we want to acknowledge a lot of people that have obviously lost their life in the line of duty, but also those that have lost their life to COVID. And we've had some here locally. continuing. And then there have been some people recently that got killed in the line of duty. I think there was a female that got killed responding to a domestic violence call.
24 years old.
24 years old, and then she also had a young son as well. And so just tragic, man, just super, super tragic. And I don't know about you guys, man, but I was responding to a call, was it yesterday? Or actually, no, we were in briefing yesterday, and we were actually watching a video. One of the things that we'll typically do in our briefings is we'll watch videos of other officer-involved shootings or uses of forces across the country, and then we'll debrief them. And the purpose of doing that is we want to see, what that officer did good or what could be done better, so that way we don't make the same mistakes. But I don't know, I just had, as I was watching it, I was just thinking, sitting there, I was like, man, we have a legitimate dangerous job. We talk about it, and we talk about it frequently. I talk about tactics, I talk about things that we respond to, but I don't know what was different about yesterday, but it really just hit me we have a job where I can go do a traffic stop today and somebody can just pull out a gun on me and try to shoot me. And that was the video we watched. And maybe we'll post that up. I'll show you a video. I'll show you guys all the video of it. But long story short, a guy does a traffic stop. And as he's doing the traffic stop, he sees something. It's like something doesn't feel right. And there's somebody in the back seat of that vehicle. And so there's two people. You got a guy on the driver's seat. You got a guy in the rear. And as he's talking to him, he calls for another backup officer. So his backup gets there, and he approaches on the passenger side. And as they're talking, the officer on the passenger side notices that the guy in the back has a gun. And so he's like, they draw down on both the guys, and they're like, hey, don't reach for that gun, or whatever they were saying, whatever commands they were giving them. And then ultimately, what ended up happening is the guy in the back seat lunges out of the car with a revolver. And he actually pulls the trigger, but it doesn't go off. And so the officers ended up shooting the guy, and they end up killing him. And they come to find out after the fact that I guess the revolver he had, it was loaded and everything, but it malfunctioned because he had it set in double action instead of single action. And so the crazy thing to me was that guy had his mindset on shooting a cop. And so I don't know why I was just sitting in there in briefing yesterday, and I don't want to call it an epiphany, but it was just more of we legitimately have a job that I can get killed, any day I go to work. And I had this conversation actually with my barber a few years ago. And, he was trying to compare the fact that, officers, or police officers they're not like the most deadliest job or something like that. But if you look at the list of most deadliest jobs, you'll see people like
a woodcutter,
log cutters, fishermen, deadliest catch and stuff like that. And I get it. But the difference between those jobs and our profession is that in those jobs, a log is not out to kill you.
Right.
A boat or waves aren't out to kill you. You know what I mean? A lot of times it happens by mere accident. In our job, you actually have people that legitimately want to kill us, you know what I mean? Or cause some type of harm to us. And I think that's the difference. And so, yeah, it may not be up there from the number standpoint of how many officers may die compared to some other professions, but what other professions do you go to work to where people legitimately show up and say, I want to kill a cop today? So I don't know, man. I don't know if that's you've ever had that just kind of cross your mind, AJ.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, every year in May, I go to Police Week in DC, and it is the most humbling experience as a police officer you will probably ever experience. Just because, for those of you who don't know, Police Week is a week where we honor every single law enforcement officer who has died in the line of duty. They host it in DC, and officers from all over the world travel to DC. They're there for a week. The president normally speaks. They have all sorts of different events. They have a thing called Tent City where these vendors come, and it's a big party for cops. But the real reason is to honor those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. With that said, the National Law Enforcement Down Memorial is in DC as well. And it's a beautiful memorial to say the least, but it's a oval of concrete with trees and shrubbery. Everything's trimmed, and it's beautiful. But in the oval, there's nothing but names etched in the concrete, and every name is an officer who has died in the line of duty. when you go during police week, there are letters attached to the names. There are family pictures and portraits. There are notes from officers' kids, like the officer who's died, like their kids writing their dad a note. Daddy, I miss you. I still look in the driveway every time I hear a police car drive by, like, stuff like that. And you can't help but think when you're in DC during police week, like, wow, like we have a crazy job. And like you said, are there more dangerous jobs out there? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I can't name any, if maybe one or two, but definitely not many jobs that will affect you like being a police officer does. Like to the point where when we go out to a restaurant, where do we sit? With our back against the wall. We can see the exit. We know where the emergency exit is. If we're out in public and we see somebody that looks familiar, we have to question, like, is this friend or foe, right? If we're driving and we notice a car was following us for the last 3 turns, we got to make unnecessary turns to see if this car still follows us. Like, to that extent, like, there's no other job like that. So you're absolutely right. And that's a perfect segue into something that I wanted to talk about today. And that is what drives you, especially in today's times with this whole virus pandemic going on. We live in crazier times now, more so than ever, at least in my opinion. What drives you? And I feel like the moment you figure that out and why that is what drives you will be the moment that you kind of see things in a different lens. So how do you feel about that?
So before I go into the what drives you, because I think that's a great topic, I wanted to share with people the most dangerous jobs in America.
It should be good.
And so number 10, most dangerous job in America, first line supervisors of landscaping, lawn service, and groundkeeping workers.
What?
It says fatal injuries per 100,000 full-time equivalent workers is 20. So total fatal injuries is 142. Next up is first line supervisors of construction trades and extraction workers. And 144 fatal injuries, it looks like. Next, you're looking at structural iron and steel workers. Comes in at number 8. Number 7, farmers, ranchers, and other agricultural workers. Number 6, drivers/sales workers and truck drivers. Number 5, refuse and recyclable materials collectors. Number 4, roofers. Number 3, aircraft pilots and flight engineers. Number 2, fishers and related fishing workers. And number 1, logging workers.
So I was right when I said like woodcutters, and you were right by saying fishermen. That's funny.
Yeah, and so that was posted by CNBC in December 28, 2019. And so what's crazy is law enforcement isn't even on there. But here's the crazy thing about that is that I just mentioned all these dangerous jobs, which rightfully so, they're dangerous. But again, and not one of those jobs that I mentioned does somebody show up to their job that wants to kill them for doing their job.
Strictly for their job.
Strictly for
no
their job.
other reason.
No,
that's another unique part about being a police officer, not to cut you off,
Yeah.
is there are jobs. So like, say you're a dentist, right? And you do something to mess up someone's teeth. You now run the risk of that person coming back to you because you messed their teeth up. When you're a police officer, the moment you put that badge on, you could be Gandhi, right? Someone wants to kill you. Like, you could be the nicest person in the world. You put that badge on, someone's going to look at you and go, yeah, I want to kill that guy.
Well, and that's the proof of that is just by people that hit me up on my social media. People will send some nasty things to me on my social media. And I'm not trying to say I'm Gandhi because I'm not, but they don't know anything about me. But they'll write something like F12 or F the pigs or whatever it may be. And they classify me in that same category as everybody else because either A, they had a bad experience with police. B, they just don't like police because it's the popular thing to do. Or C, they're just dumb. And so the reality of it is that they're telling me F12 or whatever it may be, and they don't even know the type of cat I am. I actually just did a call last week with a lady who was a victim of a stalking, and as I'm talking to her and helping her out, I talked to her yesterday. We ended up taking the guy into custody, and bro, she was so thankful. And one of the things she told me, she was like, "Thank you so much. I appreciate everything you've done. I've never met a police officer like you, and I've had some run-ins and stuff like that." And my point is that every single one of us as police officers are our own individual people. We're our own individual person. But yet, like you just said, like the dentist, you may have somebody that got bad service from that dentist, but what's the reality of it for them is that person can now go to another dentist and get different service because in their heart or in their mind, they feel like, oh, you know what? I'm going to another dentist to get better service. I don't have to deal with that other dentist. And they're therefore not going to classify that new dentist as the same as they would with any other dentist. But the thing with us is that you get bad service from one police officer, you immediately now start to classify all police officers as being one and the same. And so, we may not be up on that top 10 list for most dangerous jobs, but yet, honestly, if you think about it, we still have one of the most dangerous jobs just because you got to look at the things in a totality. Like, you don't have people that come with ill will or malice aforethought that are trying to kill me because of their predisposition belief on what they think police officers are or, you know, whatever the rest of the world believes they are. So,
do you still have that list pulled up, Ryan?
Yeah.
What were the numbers for, I think number 10, I think had like numbers attached to it with like the annual amount of people who have died? See if you can pull that up real quick. Yeah, it's you know what it was?
Yeah, I got it. Oh, so number 10 was fatal injuries per 100,000 full-time equivalent workers was 20.2. Total fatal injuries 142. Most common fatal accidents are transportation incidents, and then total 142 fatal injuries is 1,900. Median annual wage is 47,000, and the number of workers is 100,000. So I don't know why they put.
Gotcha.
And
so maybe that's what that list is.
Huh?
Maybe the list is not what you're most likely to die from, but most likely to be injured from.
That might be true too. It's probably
because you said, I think you said 142.
Say it again.
For the year and whatever list that is, 142 people have died in whatever career that is.
Yeah.
And we're already at what, 200 or 300 for the Officer Down Memorial for the year?
No.
No. I said 200 or 300. Let me see where we're at. I'm tripping. Don't listen to me.
I just want to see how they calculated, but again, it says workplace deaths last year, a slight increase from 2017, according to new data, Bureau of Labor Statistics. So the rate of fatal work injuries remain unchanged at 3.5 per 100,000 workers. So I don't know how they calculate this, and I think law enforcement I've seen law enforcement on some other list. So I don't want people to think that this is, you know, the only list that actually exists. This is just the first thing I pulled up on Google when I typed in top 10 most dangerous jobs. And so USA Today has one out, and theirs is like they have a top 25 list. And so, but like I said, so on the USA Today list, it says police officers come in at number 18. Fatal injuries in 2017 was 12.9 per 100,000 workers. Total fatalities was 99 fatal injuries, and in most common fatal accidents. And see, this is what's crazy. Most common fatal accidents for police officers and sheriffs were violence and other injuries by persons or animals.
Yep.
So that's the difference. I think I can go down this whole list, and you won't see the most common fatal accident as being violence. Everything else on here is an accident. But when it comes to police officers, the number one fatal injury is violence.
And keep in mind, in 2019, we had 146 officers die in the line of duty.
Yeah, well, that's crazy.
146. So
I'm going through this list, and everything else. The most common way of dying is falling or slipping or tripping. And you go to police officers, and the number one most common is violence. So I don't know, man. I that just kind of just stirred something up with me yesterday. But I want to go back to your topic itself of what drives you. So, let me start with you, AJ. You brought the topic up. What drives you?
Yeah. So I'll tell you where I got this topic idea from. I'm working on a project, Ryan, you know about it. And I'm keeping it somewhat secretive as of now, but it's been very, very time consuming. So it's also no secret that we have a newborn at our house. I'm married. I just got back to work last Thursday, which is a whole other story within itself. So there's a lot going on, the LLC, trying to figure out like what contracts are going to look like, payroll, all this stuff, Ryan. And you know way more than I do about that type of stuff, but it's very time consuming. So I worked outside of my normal job all day yesterday. My wife is in school right now to become a nurse practitioner. So she's taking these online classes and, she's still trying to figure out how to navigate through the transitional online stuff between the actual physical classroom stuff because of everything going on with the virus, right? With that said, I woke up this morning at, 7:45, went downstairs, hopped on the computer at 8 a.m., was on the computer all day up until now. Like we're recording and it is 2:36 my time. And at one point I heard the baby upstairs crying and I'm like, well, let me go upstairs and give my wife a break real quick because I've got a little bit of downtime. So I go upstairs, I grab the baby, I kiss Shelby and I'm like, babe, I'm so sorry. Like, I know this is hard, but like this is it. Like this one weekend we could push through it and then the rest will be good. And she's like, no, babe, like it's okay. Like what we're doing is important. Like me being in school is important and you doing what you're doing and working on the project you're working on is important. So just keep doing it. And it made me think the driving factor behind everything that I've been doing the past couple of days has been to help my family financially, to help others when they're in dark places, to help myself, right? Like I'm passionate about being a police officer, so I'm excited to be back at work to help those families out, and to help others who are in need. And it just made me think, if my driving factor wasn't something I was passionate about, or my driving factor was something negative, there's no way I'd be able to maintain this. But since my driving factor is something positive and something I care about, I maintain it with ease. So there are a lot of people who are considering going into law enforcement that listen to this podcast. With that said, if you are unsure what your driving force is in wanting to join law enforcement, I highly suggest you find out what it is. If you already know what it is and it seems negative in nature or it seems somewhat off, you should probably correct it before you join the force. If you're already a police officer, look, times are hard. My first day back was Thursday. Since this entire virus chaos, I have been terrified. I have a newborn at home. I don't want to bring it back and give it to him. I don't want to bring it back and give it to my wife. My mom might catch it. Like I'm terrified about this virus. I go to work. I don't know what to expect. My first day back, I'm senior officer. There's no sergeant covering us for the first few hours, which means I'm in charge, right? So I'm like, this place is about to burn because I don't know what's going on. I've been going for 6 weeks, all right? They give me a mask. They're telling me how to fit the mask. They're telling me every time you go on a run, you got to wear this mask. I mark in a service. What's the first run they send me?
COVID-19.
A 4-hour guard duty at the hospital. So I'm like, I got to sit at ground zero for 4 hours. Like, welcome back, AJ, right? But once again, what drives me when it comes to being a police officer are all of the right things, and I have them prioritized in the right manner. So when that went out, I had my initial reaction like, oh, that's how y'all going to do me? That's how y'all going to do me? But as soon as I got in the car, I laughed and I was like, well, you know what? At least I have a job. At least I still could go out here and impact people. At least I still have the opportunity to go out here and help others who normally wouldn't have help, right? And I was like, it is what it is. So my question to you is, what drives you and why?
Man, that's a great question. And so, I was thinking about this the other day, and what AJ brought up is a good point. When I first started the academy, one of the things that they would tell us, and if you've never been to an academy before, or if you never went to a stress academy, I went to a stress academy, and they said the purpose of the stress is they want the people to quit that would quit later when it actually counts. And I didn't understand what they meant by that until I got there. And I'll never forget the first couple days. I mean, it was hard. That first week of the academy, I literally got about 7 hours of sleep. No joke. Like, I was up all night doing homework. They were yelling at us for stupid stuff. I was like, man, this is a joke. Like, this is dumb. But in me, I've never been one of those quitters. I had before life, not before, like before I got to law enforcement, when I was in college, I told you guys about me walking on in college and everything like that. And it was not easy. It was not given to me. And so I've already, my whole life prior to getting to law enforcement, was being trained to not give up, to push through, to realize the why at the end of the day. And as I was going through that time, my wife and I were newly married, and I would tell her, because it was hard days with her. You got to figure, when I started the academy, I had my son the very first weekend of the academy. So I started academy on Monday, and we had our son on Saturday. And so my wife was essentially becoming a new parent on her own in a way, because I was kind of checked out. You know what I mean? I was at the hospital when she gave birth. And then after that, I was getting back to doing homework. And I would always tell her this saying. I would always tell her, a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. I would always tell her that. And that's kind of been my family motto, is short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. Anytime I got to do something and the wife gives me that eyes like, man, like really? Or, whatever it may be, she knows short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. Well, the question is, what is the long-term gain? And so you guys know me, I'm always going to go spiritual, always going to go biblical with it, because that's kind of my foundation, and I work backwards from there. And so what came to mind when you asked, why, there was one scripture that came to my mind, and it was John 14:12. And it says, verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. And so what's crazy to me is that, the way I interpret that is like, think about, you look at Jesus. We just celebrated Easter yesterday, celebrated the resurrection of Christ. And Christ is talking about how, the works that I do, greater works he will do also. And, when he says that, he's like, I've given you guys gifts to do things that I've just as I've done. I came in human form. I was doing miracles and things like that. And so, God has given each and every one of us a gift that, it's up to us of whether or not we want to access that gift on this earth. And whatever it may be, whether it's, Billy doing, the technical stuff, the, filming, whatever it may be, whether it's AJ, being the best police officer he can and doing the community policing, whatever it is, he's given each and every one of us a gift. And when I die here, I don't want to leave the earth and be like, hey, I didn't utilize what God gave me. So when we go back to talking about, short-term sacrifice for long-term gain, well, the long-term gain for me is legacy. You know what I mean? And legacy is not just a legacy for the Tillman name, but for God's name. You know what I mean? I want people to be like, man, like, I know that guy loved God. I know he loved Jesus just based on his actions. And I know his family does too, just based on his kids' actions. And so I think that's what drives me. And you need to have something like that in your life that defines who you are as a person. Because when you're sitting in a briefing room and you're thinking about how dangerous your job is and how you can get killed so easily, if you don't have a why, if you don't have something that drives you, you will walk out of that briefing and say, you know what, I quit. You know what I mean? And so for me, it wasn't one of those like, hey, you know what, I quit. It was one of those like, yeah, my job is dangerous, but time to go out there and save the world again. And so I think that's why it's so important. And that's what's going to get you up early in the morning. That's what's going to make you put in those long hours. People, I one of the things I love is like when people are always like, man, you have this or you guys have this, you're so lucky. And it's like, really?
Oh, man, don't get me started.
I love that it's lucky, because what you don't understand is you don't understand the late nights that I had to stay up. You don't understand the early mornings I had to wake up. You don't understand how many times I had to leave my wife and my kids to go do something when I really didn't feel like it. If I go back to today's podcast, as much as I love recording the podcast, it's the therapy session for me, whatever you guys want to call it. I love this podcast, but I'm not going to lie to y'all. This morning, I was tired. Like, I was beat this morning, but because I realized that there's a greater purpose, I keep getting up and doing it. And that greater purpose is not the fact that I get to come hear myself talk. My greater purpose is the messages that I get from you guys listening to it, and the encouraging words that say, hey, look, by you saying what you said, or by you, praying for me, or whatever it may be, it gave me hope to live a little bit longer, or it gave me hope to encourage somebody else. And so that for me is my drive. That's my why. And, I'm sorry I went off on a tangent, but man, I think that's a great, great topic. So Billy, let's hear what drives you, bro.
Yeah, when AJ asked that, two things came to mind, similar to yours, but it's I want to be used by God and I want to take care of my family. So this year, I was looking at, this is my first year going full time working for myself. We're looking at an awesome year where I felt like I was doing my passion and taking care of my family. It was like the best of both worlds. And obviously that got shut down. So I'm actually having to reevaluate this question and really test myself, I guess. So when I say I want to be used by God, that could mean not doing what I feel like I'm passionate about. It could be just he has a different plan. So I'm kind of in the middle of that right now, having to kind of figure out, okay, if serving God really drives me, I might have to sacrifice doing what I thought was my plan. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of in the middle of that right now, actually, because, I don't even know if weddings will be open in, like all my weddings have pushed back to July, and I don't see the government just saying, yeah, have groups of 300 meeting in July, so I think things are going in a different direction. I don't know.
It's deep, man. I told somebody, and Billy, you got to help me make this meme. But I want to get a meme that says like, world, and you just see like everybody just like partying, like doing just some reckless stuff. And then you see right below it says God, and then it says Control Alt Delete. Like God has done
it restart all of this.
He's done a massive reset, a massive force quit on the whole world. And so you're right, man. Like, sometimes, and this COVID-19 was unexpected to everybody, and I'm sure you're not the only one that feels that way. Even myself, in certain ways, I feel that way when it comes to the business. Is the speaking and everything is great. Not to say that I'm gonna stop it, but I think it's a time for a pivot. You know what I mean? And refocusing. Like, okay, why did I start doing this? I know I started for God. Okay, God, well, if I started this for you, which way do you want me to pivot out of this? You know what I mean? So that way we can do it better, because God's not doing this for any reason. God's not doing this COVID-19 just to say, hey, I'm going to give y'all COVID-19. No, he wants us to wake up. You know what I mean? And so I think waking up to your purpose and what drives you, like AJ said, is critical for us to recognize right now. So I'm going to go back to you real quick, AJ, but I want to read something. I always love reading stuff that you guys send because, again, it motivates me. But this is really right on topic with what we were talking about. So it says, hey, brother, I'm a police officer out here in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. I'm sure you know agencies, including my own, have taken a reactive approach to policing with all the virus happenings. This stuff is getting crazy. My city is getting bad. That being said, I have been an on and off listener of your podcast. Fair or foul that he's an on or off listener. Not just playing, bro. I love you.
That's funny.
So he said, that being said, I've been an on and off listener of your podcast, but I've listened weekly. Currently, my department wants us out on the road at all times. So since I've got nothing but time in between calls for service, I've been listening to the podcast back to back while on patrol. Since this pandemic started all the way to about 10 minutes ago, I listened all the way from episode 13 to your current episode. And man, all I have to say is, wow, you guys made me think of many things in a whole new light, even things I've already experienced daily. Now I'm just sitting here waiting for this next week's podcast. Thanks for doing what you guys do. Excited to hear more and implement new plans into this amazing job. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Hey, so first and foremost, shout out to you for writing me that. I'm so sorry I haven't responded yet. I'm not going to say your name because I don't know if you want me to say your name. But shout out to you, bro. I really appreciate it. AJ appreciates that. Billy appreciates it that you not only subscribe and listen to our podcast, but you are an example of why we do what we do. You are an example of my why. So obviously my family, my friends, God, those are my biggest whys, but you also are one of my whys, my brother. It's because of you that I also get up early. It's because of you that, even though we have things in disarray before we get on a podcast and we're getting all pissed off, I know that there's people out there that need to be touched and need to hear God's good word or whatever it may be, man. So shout out to you, and shout out to all of our listeners and fans that follow this podcast, because you guys are my why as well.
Yeah. Going back to work was extremely difficult just because it was going to be the first time that I was away from my wife and kid for more than 30 minutes, really. So that was in the back of my head going back to work. And within the first hour that I was actually back on the street, I got a call from a family that I don't even want to say I mentor, just a family that I'm constantly in their life and they're in my life via work. She sends me a text, the mother, and she goes, hey, I'm freaking out. I heard you're back at work. Can you swing by when you get a chance? So I go, yep. I'll be there in 15 minutes. So I swing by her house. I walk up on her front door, knock. She doesn't answer. Goes to the back door, knock. She doesn't answer. So I call her. She immediately picks up. I'm like, hey, I know you heard me knocking. I see your car in the driveway. What's up? And she's like, I can't answer. And I'm like, why not? And she's like, my daughter tested positive for COVID 2 days ago. Keep in mind, her daughter has sickle cell. So this is not a good combination, right? Her daughter's in high school. She's a sophomore, super intelligent, very, very well spoken. You know, I can't say enough good things about her. So she tells me, and I'm like, what? Like, is she okay? And she's like, she's at Children's Hospital right now. Like, I'm just freaking out because I don't know what to do. Like, I want to be there with her. I want to be here for my kids. Like, I just got into an argument with my eldest son because, you know, he wants to go to work and I don't want him going because he might have it and he might give it to somebody else. So he just cussed me out. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, go ahead, give him the phone. So she gives him the phone. I talk to him, a heart to heart, like emotional conversation. And he was in tears by the time we got off the phone. I give the phone back. He gives the phone back to his mom. Then mom starts crying. She's like, thank you so much. She's like, I love you like you're our own. Like, just thank you so much for being part of our family. Get off the phone, go back to work. And I'm driving around. I get the smile on my face. And I'm like, how is it that I could smile during such a storm, right? When people are panicking all over the world, people are freaking out about toilet paper and buying ammunition and buying weights and not going outside, following the order, not following the order. How is it that I'm able to drive around with a smile on my face? And that's exactly why. Is because like that's part of the driving factor in why I do what I do. So I ask that for a reason to all of the listeners out there. And the reason is the moment that you identify it, it's a game changer. It is a game changer. You know, we always talk about the reality of perception. You know, you have perception A and you have perception B. Perception A is you're always grateful no matter what happens. You know, the glass is half full or you're just happy to have the glass, right? And then perception B is, well, where's the rest of my water? Or this glass isn't the one I wanted type of mentality, right? The moment that you realize what your driving factor is, you start to see that switch go from B to A, and then everything else in life will I don't want to say it'll be a breeze, but it'll be so much easier, right? Like, think about the last time you were forced to do something you didn't want to do. How long it took, how much it sucked, how like everything negative about it. And then think about the last thing you did that you enjoyed. There's a reason why your emotions were different when you were doing each one of those. There's a reason why time drug so long and seemed like it was taking forever and you hated every single second when you were doing the first thing because you didn't want to do it. Your heart wasn't in it. You didn't have a driving factor to do it, or your driving factor was something negative, right? Like, I'm forcing you to do this. And then when you think about the last thing you did that you enjoyed, whether it was a vacation, family dinner, praying, going to church, whatever, and time flew and you have all these positive thoughts, why do you think that is? Because your driving factor was positive. And it's the same thing with law enforcement. Like, this job is rough. This job, and I'll say it to the day I die, this is one of the hardest jobs in the world. And I could list so many reasons why. Forget the dangerous jobs list and all of that. Like, this is one of the craziest, most difficult jobs in the world. It's hard enough as it is. We have to train our minds to navigate through this negativity. And the moment we realize, okay, I have to figure out what my driving force is. I have to make sure it's positive, and I have to remind myself that every single day will be the moment that this hard, difficult, wearing job will be a ray of sunlight.
Man, thanks for the encouraging words, AJ. You just motivated me with that. And you know, it's funny when you just brought that out. I was having a discussion with my buddy the other day, and we were talking about, you know, this job. And I was finding it funny how a lot of times people that criticize a job, like, think about this. Like, if you know you have anger issues,
right?
Like, know you just got anger issues, like, or just know, like, maybe you don't have anger issues, but know, like, if somebody gets mad or if somebody gets on your nerves or something like that, you're going to get mad, or somebody cusses you out, you're going to get mad. So think about all those people. And I'm sure a lot of them have criticized the way police officers do their job. Now, put those same people in the shoes of a police officer and let somebody do something or say something to them. How would they respond, or how would they react? Because one of the things that people don't realize and they don't think about is they don't think about how they would react in similar situations as officers. You know what I mean? Not even just talking about, you know, officer involved shootings, but just talking about just your mere response to people. And the reason I bring that up is because think about how many people have cussed you out. Think about how many times somebody's cussed me out, called me the N-word, called me out of name, called my wife out of name. And so yet I still have to respond a certain type of way. Not to say I do every single time, but the reason I bring that up is because it goes back to your point of a mindset. My mindset is far beyond what they're saying or what they're going through. And so the people that criticize us, check yourself, because that might give you just a glimpse into understanding why we do what we do and how we do what we do. My buddy told me something that actually stood out to me. He was like, you know what, man, like I've been thinking about it more, and every time I see your guys' videos and things you guys put out, I will honestly say it's actually made me start to rethink a little bit how difficult your guys' job is. And I was like, man, he was like, the crazy thing is I just know how you are. I know who you are as a person, and me knowing who you are as a person and then seeing some of these videos coming out and things like that, like, and then looking at how I would respond if I was in that situation. One of the things I love hearing is when people say, I don't know how you guys do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's
Think
true.
about
like,
that.
Sometimes I don't know how I do it either. You know what I mean? But again, going back to that mindset, I wanted to give a brief shout out real quick to Dominic on our It's Needed podcast fan page. And the reason I bring him up right now in the midst of all this is because he sent us something the other day that said we've motivated him so much that he went from being 292 pounds as a police officer to 248 pounds in about 4.5 months. He was like, you guys have made an impact on my life. Thanks, AJ and Ryan, for everything you guys do. So again, going back to mindset, and Dominic, I want you to know, it wasn't just me and AJ. Me and AJ and Billy might have just sparked something in you, but you've always had it in you. And every single one of our listeners, you guys got to understand, you all have the potential in you to do what you want to do. You just have to identify what that thing is. So if you need help, if you need assistance in saying, okay, what is my why or what's going to drive me, figure out first, start backwards. What is it, or who is it that is your why? So for me, like I said, it's God, my wife, and my kids. So once I have that identified, then I figure out, okay, what is it that I need to accomplish to help my why out? And that might be weight loss. That might be health. That might be finances, whatever it is. And then you start to develop a game plan. And if that why is just strong enough, if it is passionate enough, it will wake you up at 3 or 4:30 in the morning without you even having to, without it being hard. It will keep you up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning without you being ready to go to sleep. It will get you to be the first one to your job and the last one to leave because it's stronger than just the job itself. You know what I mean? That passion and that drive will be stronger than just the job itself. And so
that's exactly it.
Yeah, man. So, I really want to just encourage all of you guys right now. That's a great topic as far as discussing your why and what drives you, because if you don't have that, especially in law enforcement, stand by, because there will come a day and time where you're going to be sitting there at a fork in the road. You're going to be like, is this really what I want to do?
That's it. Speaking of what drives you, I feel like this is the perfect time to transition into the internet meanies, because they drive us as well.
Oh, bro, we got two today, because if you got one, I got one too. Yes.
Okay, so I got two, so we got 3 total, because I got 2 good ones back to back.
Hit the theme song for us.
That escalated quickly.
All right.
Internet meanies. All right, boom. All right, the first internet meanie comes from Instagram, Miss Lady 3011.
Miss Lady.
And she would like me to know, and I quote, "You're a piece of racist white bleep, and you know it. Using my people to make you look good. Don't be fooled, y'all. His white bleep is still the enemy." Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hate.
My second internet meaning is spread dope. SpreadDope. Put an extra E on the end of it, or at the end of it. And he would like me to know that I am a racist piggy. You are a coward. You hold your own, so you could not hold your own, so you joined the Blue Ku Klux Klan. Sad. You're a pathetic bleep. I was debating if I was going to say that.
Oh, man. Oh, bruh.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear yours.
All right. So mine comes to us from Mr. Matty Marr, spelled MATTIE_MAR. and Mr. Matty Marr would like me to know. He said, "This dude has been drinking too much of the juice," with a whole bunch of laughy emoji faces.
I actually have one from YouTube as well.
Oh, yeah.
So shout out to our
yes.
Breaking Barriers United YouTube channel. But AJ, this one's for you from David N. So I posted a video about how you guys talk about when you go on a call, you need to treat everyone as a loved one, right? You guys talked about that on the last podcast. David N said, "AJ, so you punch your loved ones in the face for no reason?"
Oh man! Shout out
comment
to the internet meanies. Oh, you gotta love it. So as much as light as we made of this, guys, you guys gotta realize it does drive us. Like it drives. We were just talking about this before we got on this podcast today. Is you know what? You guys can do one of two things with the hate you get your way. You can either let it affect you. You can either go in your hole, start believing what people are saying about you, or you can laugh about it and just allow it to motivate you. That's what I do. I choose to allow it to motivate me. So, you're always gonna have haters. Always gonna have haters.
And in a weird way, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I'll just say in a weird way, when you find out your driving factor, like your why, like those comments automatically get filtered into that, right?
Oh yeah.
Like if I am running a marathon and if I don't finish the marathon, all of my loved ones die. There's nothing in the world that's going to stop me from completing this marathon. I don't care who says what obstacles are thrown my way. If my left leg falls off, I'm going to hop across that finish line because I know my why. And it's the same thing with everything else, right? Like we could read these messages and laugh because we know our why. Like my why isn't it's to appease you or for me to change your perspective. I would love for it to do that. But guess what? You're one person out of hundreds, if not thousands of people that we're helping through dark times and that we're encouraging and that we're changing their minds.
Yep. And here's the other thing too, is like, think about this, is like, I look at it as encouragement because those people that are saying those things, I guarantee you nobody's going on their page saying negative things about them because they're not doing anything.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I'm saying that and what I mean by that is like, look, like my dad would always tell me, like, Ryan, if nobody's talking about you, you're doing something wrong. And so,
yes,
if I guarantee you those people that are coming, they're on our page. Like, I didn't tell them, I didn't send them a message to say, hey, come watch my video, or hey, do me a favor, tell me what you think about my video. And so those are some of the funny comments.
You look me up.
Those are some of the funny comments too, is like, some people will I'll put a Tillman takeout, and it's a pretty long video, and somebody will leave a comment and say something negative, or they'll say, I can't believe I just watched that, or whatever. It's like, bro, you just sat down and watched a 7-minute video. Didn't nobody tell you to sit down and watch that 7-minute video? You could have kept scrolling, but yet you did it for a reason. And so again, some people just have that
secret fan.
Yeah, exactly. Some people just have it in them. So shout out to all the haters. If you guys are listening, if you guys are fans of our podcast, that means you guys are on that. You guys are in the 1% club. You guys are in that club that, you have that mindset. You're capable of doing what you want to do. You're capable of going out there and changing the world. And so allow the hate that you get to fuel you. Allow the adversity that you're going through right now, allow it to fuel you. Just like my man Dominic, he recognized the problem and he lost over 50 pounds in the matter of 4 months.
Mode.
That's a decision that he had to make, and he's doing it. So shout out to all you guys. I love you. Again, I can't tell you guys like how much, like, we wouldn't be anything without you guys. So where are we at on time, Billy?
55.
Cool. Yeah,
So I want to do this every week. Last week I shared my number one embarrassing story, and hopefully it brightened up your week. I want to share another embarrassing story to hopefully brighten up this week for you. And I shared this one on a podcast when we first started recording. So if you heard that one, I appreciate you listening this long. But if you haven't, here we go. All right,
cool.
So I joined the police academy for the department that I work for now, and it is a very military style police academy. Okay, keep in mind I think 23 years old, maybe. So the time between me getting my life together and old AJ has not been that long. All right. So there's still parts of old AJ that are lingering around. All right. So it's complete culture shock for me. Before we actually started the academy, I wanted to know everything going into it, like the ins and outs, what to expect, what not to expect, what to wear, how to do everything, right? So I did a tour of the academy with the former chief, right? It was something that he offered on his own time. If you want to come, show up on this date and time, we'll walk you through the academy, tell you what to expect. Psh, I'm there. I want to know what to expect. So I show up. He walks us around the building, and we're talking a multi-million-dollar facility, right? Like, this is state-of-the-art facility. It's massive. So he's like, this will be the start line for your 1.5 mile run. Your finish line will be there. He showed us all the physical training equipment, the mat rooms, the basketball court, everything, right? Like the shoot rooms, the don't shoot room, everything, right? Yeah. Where you'll get tased, where you'll get maced, the classrooms, everything, lunchrooms. So he walks through the gym and into the shower area, the locker room. So there's lockers on one side and there's a shower on the right, a shower room on the right. And it's basically one big room with maybe 12 shower heads, no partitions, no nothing, right?
No eucalyptus.
So I peek in there and I'm like, oh, we gonna get to know each other very well in this academy, I see. So he's like, yeah, there'll be a bunch of guys in here showering at the same time. So if you're shy, you might want to get over that now, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I'm good. I ain't really worried about it, right? So he's like, make sure you bring, soap and everything you need to wash up. So I'm like, bet. I didn't think about that. I'm glad he said that because I just would have been using the water joint, right? So boom, first day of the academy. They tearing us up. We're running, doing push-ups. We're boxing each other. We're fighting each other on the ground. We're doing hitman, shoot, don't shoot scenarios. I mean, they tearing us up. And we're sweating even more on top of everything because we're like super nervous, right? So we get done. The drill sergeant comes in and he goes, all right, guys, you got 30 minutes to shower and be upstairs in your Class A uniforms, ready, go. So everybody takes off sprinting into the locker room. Keep in mind, there's 50 of us. All right. There's only like 12 shower heads. And I don't know if it might have been like 15, 20 minutes. Like the time that we had was very short. So people are stripping off their clothes and they're getting in the showers, right? So when the shower heads are occupied, we just kind of form like a butt naked line to get into the showers, right? Like there was just a line, you stood there with your soap waiting for somebody to come out, then you would go in, right?
Butt naked.
So I'm standing in the butt naked line, right? So I got my soap in one hand and I got my wash rag in my left hand. So I'm looking around, I'm like, hold on. Like, don't nobody got a wash rag in their hands. So I'm like, well, maybe like, what I'm saying? Like, maybe it's just like these few people around me. So some more people get in line. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be like a weird, like, I don't want to be looking around in this setting. So I'm like, let me just kind of like glance over. So I glanced over. No one got a wash rag. So I'm like, what is going on? So I'm like, I'm gonna hold on to my wash rag, right? Because that's how I wash up. But I also don't want to be like an outcast or be doing something that ain't normal or effective, right? So I'm like, I'm sure there's people like actually in the shower that are using it, right? So I get a little closer, kind of like peek around the corner. Nobody has a wash rag, right? Like people are using bars of soap and like putting against their body, or they're like lathering up their hands and then like using their hands like washcloths. So I'm like, okay, what do you do, AJ? Like, do you use the washcloth and be like a weirdo, not knowing why everybody else isn't using the washcloth? Or do you like drop it and hope nobody notices it? So I panicked and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna drop it because I don't want to be the weirdo in the class first day, right? So I look around, I kind of like bend down a little bit and drop it and lean back up. And that's how I knew, like, listen, not to turn this into a racial thing, but I never knew that like white people didn't use washcloths. So my mind was blown, and legend has it the washcloth is still there because no one knows what it is. I was confused. I had no idea. So I went the whole rest of the academy like just trying to figure out how to use a bar of soap on your body, not knowing if it's getting it clean. So Billy, do you use a washcloth?
I don't. But I use the liquid dispenser body wash just on my hand, like a pump.
Ryan, do you use a washcloth?
I use washcloth.
See, look,
hey,
right there.
The difference is
it's a racial. It's a race related
Hey,
thing.
Billy's
So
bougie though. Billy
listen,
uses the gloves, the body gloves, bro.
is that what he said? I can see Billy use. La, 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 la.
I don't use that.
So if you're in our Facebook group, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to just comment. I'm gonna make a post today. No, I'm gonna make a post. Yeah, I'm gonna make a post today because we're gonna post a podcast today. And I just want you to comment on it if you use a washcloth or not.
I'm a
'Cause I was
washcloth
embarrassed.
guy,
I
bro.
feel like people was looking at me like, man, what's this dude holding?
Hey,
Like,
let me ask you this. Side note: do you guys keep the butter in the refrigerator or on the counter?
It's in the refrigerator, but I don't really like. Yeah, it's in the refrigerator.
Because some people leave it on the counter. My wife did that, and when we first got, I'm like, the butter goes in the refrigerator, and she's like, nah, it stays on the counter. And there's two frames of thought on it. So that's why it made me think about that when you said the washcloth, how people do things differently. The butter is another one. I keep my butter in the refrigerator, but some people keep it on the counter.
I'm about to ask Shelby. Look, actually, I'm about to call it right now. This is live on the. Watch this, y'all. Y'all about to get it live from my wife.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta hear
I don't ever use. We have like a tub of margarine, but I never use it. Like I never use butter really.
Some people, yes.
Margarine. Oh, I got a question. We're gonna ask the wife thing. Billy, Miracle Whip or mayonnaise?
Oh.
Mayonnaise. But I can enjoy both.
Ryan, which one?
I'm gonna go mayonnaise, bro.
Oh no!
Hey, so you know what? So really quickly before we continue that, because this is a good topic, I want to save this stuff. So what we're gonna do is for the next podcast, we actually I have a buddy of mine coming on. He's a correctional officer. We're actually gonna give some correctional officers some love, or actually no. He's a former correctional officer. He's now a police officer. Actually, he's one of my partners. So he's going to be here live in the studio with me in a couple for the next episode. But what we're going to be doing here is we're going to do a podcast. And we're going to talk about stereotypes versus profiling, criminal profiling.
I don't want to be brought into that conversation.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it works.
So I think what I would like to do, and if you are a fan on our podcast page, I want to do like a trivia game, and I want to do more like what we're doing right now. Do you use this or do you use that? And we're gonna see if it's a stereotype or is this just a people thing.
I like that.
And then, but it'll be.
I have a picture too. Remind me to bring the picture next week so I can show everybody the picture. It applies directly to this.
So that's good. But we're gonna bring that whole episode back to obviously stereotyping, but how that we'll tie it into law enforcement some way. But this is hilarious, and the reason I cut Bill or AJ off is because this is hilarious, and I want to save this stuff, the mayonnaise versus Miracle Whip, all that stuff for that episode because that's gonna be good. So, but again, guys, we don't want to go too long today. I got to go to work today. AJ has to go, shave it or trim up his mustache, and Billy has to go put mayonnaise on his hot dog. And what I mean by
which is delicious, by the way.
I have a sergeant of mine he's a white guy, and this is the first time I've ever seen somebody.
No, we gotta save this.
Mayonnaise on a burger is good too. I don't know if you guys do that.
I do mayonnaise on a burger, but mayonnaise on a hot dog, bro. We went somewhere, bro, and he had got a hot dog. He's a sergeant, my white guy. And bro, he put a boatload of mayonnaise on that hot dog. I was like,
nah.
Mayonnaise is nasty. Ugh.
So you like Miracle Whip?
Yes, bro. It's not even comparable. Like if you put mayonnaise on my sandwich, like you might have to see me.
Hey, top ramen or oodles and noodles?
It's Roman noodles.
Roman noodles. You mean ramen noodles?
I don't know a ramen. I can't afford that French stuff. We got Roman noodles.
So you don't eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You eat just the crunch.
Just the crunch. It comes in a big bag. Yeah.
Hey, so we love you guys, man. We appreciate you guys following with us. Again, like I always tell you guys, if you guys are avid listener to this podcast, please do me a favor. Give us a 5-star rating on the podcast on iTunes. What are the other ones we have? I don't even know. I'm drawing a blank today.
We're everywhere, but I don't know where you can leave reviews. So
I actually Googled It's Needed Podcast, and a whole bunch of different platforms that we're on came up. So
good.
I don't even. Does that even account? Do those other places account for our total downloads or no?
I believe so. It does. Because our platform knows where it goes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. So anyway, so we appreciate you guys. So don't not only just leave us a 5-star rating, but also give us a review. That tells us how we can improve things and what you guys like and don't like. And if you guys are one of those people that sends us a DM and you guys listen to our podcast, keep those DMs coming. Even though I may not respond right away on the DM, just know I am reading them. And a lot of times, like I said like I did today, I will continue to read those out, because not only does it motivate me, AJ, and Billy, but it's motivating the other people out there that also will listen as well. So with that being said, AJ and Billy, any final parting thoughts?
Use a washcloth. Be clean. Don't put mayonnaise on your hot dog.
Oh man, Billy, what you got for us?
Nothing, man. Just put mayonnaise on your hot dog.
Billy's like, give my stimulus check.
And then
Yeah,
Ryan, what do you call a mustache?
Give my stimulus check.
I did check my account during the podcast, so it has not come in.
Still nothing.
All right, guys. Well, hey, guys, we love you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.